Welcome everyone to another NJ2D video interview. Today you get a 2-for-1 because I'm joined with Eric Hoxit and Mavi Figueres from GCR. And today we're talking about the recent collaboration with Ressinea. So this is one of a number of collaborations that GCR have announced recently. So we're going to go into this one in a bit more detail here, but there are other videos available for the other collaborations if you're interested. So thank you for joining me, Mavi and Eric.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Liam.
Hello.
All right, okay, thank you. And so with your if you talk about Ressinea, your collaboration with Ressinea, your graphene is now being used to make graphene-infused resins and coatings. So what type of coatings are being made alongside Ressinea, and what market and industrial sectors are we likely to see them?
Well, I think the sky's the limit. Obviously, we've got a lot of opportunity there, and it's still fairly early in this collaboration to see where all of this is going to end up. You know, the first bench testing was incredibly positive. I've actually got one of the little test pucks right here using less than 1% graphene infusion into the 2-part epoxy resin, and the resilience of the material is just out of this world. We actually did post a video on YouTube of one of the bench tests that he did with one of these test pucks versus an 8-pound sledgehammer. And this thing comes out pretty unscathed. It's remarkable. It's actually a lot of fun to watch. He actually called us and said, you know, I'm not a small guy. And so when I put my force into this, you know, behind the sledgehammer, I actually broke my test bench.
I'm dying to go over there and do it myself. I mean, it's one of the, I do not want to break anything here, but I would love to go visit those guys and take a sledgehammer.
Go break their stuff.
Go break their stuff, yes.
Yeah. So to go back to the question, I think with, you know, a product like this kind of graphene enhanced resin, we're going to see it in all sorts of different applications. Everything from industrial coatings, I think, is probably going to be one of the first. We're also going to start to see it. I know that there's a lot of talk about OEM auto manufacturers and even aftermarket parts. That's one of the things that we're developing some relationships there now, trying to see if there's application for this in that. I think there obviously should be. You know, and we're looking at an awful lot of benefits, whether that's, you know, the lightweighting of the material without compromising the strength and modulus to, you know, for other applications, perhaps the enhanced thermal conductivity could be really important. One of our team members down in Costa Rica, he spent a lot of time in the geothermal electrical industry, and so we see a lot of applications for those sort of industries, you know, where the environment where the material is expected to perform, it's a pretty harsh environment, whether that's, you know, chemically or thermally, and we would expect to see much better resilience from the material in those sort of environments. And so we think there's an awful lot of potential in all kinds of different industrial applications and environments.
Okay, thank you. Obviously we both, well, we all know that graphene has a number of beneficial properties depending on where you're using it. If you could pigeonhole what are some of the key properties of graphene that makes it great for these kind of resins and these coatings, what would you say are the key features?
One of my favorite actually is that it helps reduce the heat on, for example, in the automotive. Okay. So that will also be a magnificent impact in trying to lower the heat in our planet. And so it will be environmentally friendly or friendlier to be able to help reduce the heat and also the noise. So those are things that affect our environment. And so I'm happy to see that these coatings are going to be helping us with our goal, our vision of helping heal our planet.
Thank you. And you've mentioned to me previously that you're involved with been involved a number of projects with Ressinea using these resins and coatings are going to be. out of the different things being made with your graphene with Ressinea, what would you say has the most potential for widespread adoption, and which are you most excited about from, you know, a GCR standpoint?
I think part of it is also that Ressinea is working so closely with IA.
Okay.
And so we have a magnificent team over there. And so it's not just what Ressinea, or as I just call him, Ressinea. I'm sorry, his name is Chris Clark, and I joined those two. So it's not just what he's doing by himself, but, you know, that beautiful team, that wonderful relationship of openness and friendship, but also they work together incredibly well.
Yes.
And so Chris calls me literally almost every day now. And so we come up with new ways and new products, and I always go crazy. I'm like, oh my God, let's do this. And let's spray it on a car and see what happens, you know. And that's so every day we're coming up with fascinating ways to doing that. Eric and I were talking to a friend of mine. She's an interpreter, a federal interpreter, but she plays instruments. And she's the one that was, you know, came out and said, well, how about the chords?
The strings.
Strings for musical instruments, which it never occurred to us. So we haven't even talked to the guys about it yet. But, you know, those are things that every day we just suddenly figure something, or we come up with something, and we just call Chris and just throw it at them and tell them, you know, what do y'all think?
So one of the great things about this relationship that we built with Chris at Ressinea and with Tracy and Tracy Jr. there at IA Coatings, they are fantastic as far as R&D. They're great at product development, and they're great at figuring out whether or not the graphene material, number one, whether it's easy enough to work with to incorporate, but also whether the benefits to the material make sense to do this, whether that's, you know, economically or just practically. And thus far, we've yet to hear them say, no, that's just too crazy. We say that internally sometimes, that, you know, no, let's not pursue that. But the fact that they're doing so much, and that I think they figured out the basic way to use this material that they can then extrapolate into all of these specialized applications and different formulations. It's really remarkable the work that they've already done. And so when it comes to using our material in particular, the Procene, they've been very, very responsive, number one, to us asking, do you think you could do this? But also they've not had an awful lot of difficulty in using it, because they've done the basic work already. And I think, you know, I think everyone across the world in the graphene business and the graphene community, I think everybody's trying to figure that out. And I think that if they knew a little bit about what Tracy and Tracy are doing, I think they'd all be amazed.
Yeah, I think you've in the world of people who are trying to use graphene, I think it sounds like you've got a gem there, because most don't know how to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mavi has a joke. She's always saying, you know, for the first 2.5 years that we were doing this, we were always, you know, trying to teach people what is graphene and, you know, all the basic stuff. And we'd always come to a point where they just say, well, do I eat it with a fork or a spoon? You know, no one really knew how to use it or what to do with it. These guys know. And
that's the thing with that hype of graphene. Everybody was so much talking about graphene and
that's right.
The wonderful things about graphene. And then, you know, the biggest problem that everybody had at that time was to be able to produce it industrially. Well, we are.
Supply chain was a huge issue.
Yeah, so we are producing, you know, 150 metric tons of our Procene Nano per month, in 15 metric tons of our Procene, which is the one that they're using mostly on with Chris at Ressinea, I'm sorry. So the problem that then the next step of the problem was, well, we are now producing it at large quantities. How do we now put it into products? And so we started doing our own testing, and we couldn't do it. We hit the wall several times. And so, you know, just then we've been trying to, and we have been talking to a lot of laboratories worldwide to be able to help us figure this out. And these guys, they got it. They figured it out.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of people still don't know how to use it. It's great that you have someone who can who knows what they're doing with graphene. Let's say.
I think that everybody thinks that you take a little spoon and splash some graphene powder in it and shake it,
and away we go.
Magical benefits all of a sudden.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
magical powder. Yeah.
And that, everybody, oh well, I can put half and half, and you don't realize that more than 1%. It wouldn't
doesn't work.
Yes.
Doesn't work. So, and it does sound like you got a good one though. It sounds like they're actually exploring a lot of possibilities with your graphene products. So we're beyond what there is now, and if we wrap it up, because obviously you've talked about there's a lot currently going on, and you're constantly developing ideas. Are there any like concrete plans in place to further develop products where you're seeing you in the future? What could they look like, or is it just an open book at this point in time?
Well, we do have some plans on. Again, a lot of this is still pretty early stage, so until things firm up a bit, we expect to have some other exciting news before very long. But we are working on some pretty large scale applications and additives for other industries that are based on Ressinea's technology, incorporating our Proscene graphene. We're hoping that we'll be able to incorporate the nanoplatelet material we produce, the Proscene. We expect that that'll be a good fit for some applications, but right now we've really been focused on the higher quality Proscene material that we produce. And thus far, it's mixed very well with all of their formulations. And again, we've got a very large scale application that we hope to be testing within the next 4 to 6 weeks at a couple, actually we plan to be testing here in the US as well as 2 other countries where we've been speaking with folks about infrastructure projects, and that's probably as much as I can say about that yet.
Well, the benefit is that we come from the commodities world, and so before this, we were in commodities for the longest time. So my world has always been international. It's never been limited to the area where we are. And therefore, I just started calling upon all of my people, everybody who I knew, just to start seeing what we can do in all the different countries. So as we always say, the world is your oyster. I think it is, in this case, the sky is not the limit, it's beyond.
Okay, thank you. I think that wraps it all nicely with this current collaboration with Ressinea. You've explained quite a lot there and gone into the details that that you can do at this moment in time. So I'd like to thank you for that. And if anyone's obviously interested in what's going on, I'm sure there's going to be some updates coming out soon. And it's obviously not the only collaboration that you're doing at the moment. And for anyone watching this, there are other videos coming out on the different collaborations with GCR and other end users. So keep a watch out for those. But as far as can wrap this one up, I'd like to thank you, Mavi and Eric, for joining me today. And until the next video, thank you and goodbye.
Ciao, ciao.